more exact figure on June 17th, is it would have been kind of farmed out to departments as part of their retirement line item. And so we can look at how much that line item increased.
Well, my sense is it wouldn't be farmed out to departments because it's historical debt, so I don't think it has anything to do with current employees. It has nothing, it's the 10% that's off the table that the county has not committed to repaying, but it's obligated. So I don't believe it would be farmed out to departments. And I believe that we need a substantive report on that, because if you're trying to capture the real picture, which I think that is your intent, that 10% is a very significant figure. Now, my recollection is the annual payment for this fiscal year that the board committed to for 0809 is around 400,000, 350 to 400,000, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And so if you were really trying to say what that equals, now that's a very, very high number. If you were to put on the table that full amount for the cumulative debt total. Now, I guess that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to talk about the annual application of.
Right, but we could certainly put that annual amount. I mean,
I think it needs to be on the list.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, that was something that came up about a month or so ago, and you're right. Probably should be added to this list. And my memory is it is somewhere in the neighborhood of $350,000 to $400,000. So that's what could be reflected here. As far as it being farmed out to the departments, ultimately, the retirement contributions that come from the county and employees are merged in this particular budget unit. And so the costs are spread in both arenas. And the reason you want to pay it through departments is because those departments that have access to outside funding, you know, then the federal and state funds pay their share.
But how would you assign it to departments? I mean, this is historical debt, right? So you say that we've got this lump sum and we're going to take a 1% annual.
It's all historical debt.
I disagree.
Yeah, I just don't see, how do you assign, so if you assign that to a department, how do you figure out how many county employees, I just don't see how you would accurately do that.
Well, real quickly, the way you do it is you figure out the cost of the retirement system. You have an actuary who comes up with the contributions. That's calculated into it. And then departments pay based on their employees.
But that makes no sense, because that's a real-time analysis. We're not talking about a real-time analysis. So one department could have grown 20% over the last 2 years, and one department could have dropped 10%. That's not accurate. I mean, that doesn't make any logic. There's no logical reasoning for that.
The retirement system, you're right, the accrued actuarial liability, paid or unpaid, is figured on a historical basis as well as a future projection basis. However, the payments, and I can't tell you how an actuary takes that information and translates it into an annual contribution rate for the county and for our employees. But they do, and then that's how the funding comes in.
Well, I'd like more information, because that's not my understanding from being on the retirement board. That's not, I mean, do you do the same with the pension obligation bond money? Do you take that $4.5 million and assign it to departments?
Ultimately, it's calculated into the contributions.
Right.
Jennifer, would you like to add in?
Well, remember when Mr. Knudsen brought in the retirement report,
right,
and actuarial gave a study, and they arrived at a certain rate. Well, exactly what Allison was saying. They take that, and included in that this year, when they determined the rate, was the $400,000 that we're talking about, and it's going to increase over the next 10 years to drive up to the 100% county contribution.
Right, that's right.
So what they do is they spread that out through the departments based on the rate that's determined by the actuarial. So, and that every year when they review that rate, they look at all the departments, they look at the contributions by the county and the employees, and they arrive at this rate. And that rate determines the amount that we project out in our salary projections through the department. So through the budget process, we take that rate and put it through the departments.
That makes sense, and that's absolutely the way it is it's an enhanced rate, not applicable to employees because they pay their this is basically money that the county borrowed
Right.
that's incurred and owed to the retirement system. I just don't, I don't know, by sending it out to the departments, it's kind of a,
Well, what sending out means is it's calculated in their salary projections that they build into their budgets.
Supervisor Principal.
okay,
First of all, it's actual, that is a debt in the future, it's not a debt from the past. What the county done is at first they borrowed a $30 million pension obligation bond, then they done it again and done a $90 million pension obligation bond, and that funded 90% of your future actuarial debt and the pension. Now, what we did the other day was went ahead and committed to funding the remaining, the 10%.
right.
But that should be blended in the department heads for the future, because it's not a debt that you have to pay back, it's a debt that you're preparing for into the future, and that's the difference. So that's the way, you don't need to put it on a list like that, it just be amortized over each department per employee
Well,
as a future.
for purposes of planning purposes, I believe that we need that, Supervisor Smith is correct in saying that we should put it on there because the reason why is we have a $400,000 contribution this year as the board approved to spread out over the next 10 years, which increases. So
It's gonna
it
go
would
up.
behoove us to keep track of that so that we would know just what it's going to